It was not a declared war. There was no classic invasion. And yet the president fell. For Washington, it was justice. For many countries, it was a historic violation. If this happened to him, who could be next? Nicolás Maduro was born in 1962 in Venezuela, far from palaces and traditional centers of power. Before the presidency, he was a bus driver, a union leader, and a grassroots political activist. His path did not begin among generals or diplomats, but on the margins of the system. His rise came through Chavismo. Under the leadership of Hugo Chávez, Maduro became a trusted political operator, holding key positions before assuming the presidency in 2013. He did not inherit just an office. He inherited a project of power, an ideology, and a country deeply dependent on the state. But inheriting power is not the same as controlling it, and governing Venezuela meant facing multiple crises at once. The economy collapsed. Inflation spiraled out of control. Millions left the country. The opposition radicalized. International pressure intensified. In response, the government centralized power even further. Institutions were reshaped. The machinery of the state became a shield. Maduro did not rule alone. No regime survives that way. Around him formed a hardcore, political allies, the armed forces, security structures, party leadership, and key figures of the state. A system designed to endure. As the West isolated Caracas, other actors moved closer. Russia, China, Cuba, Iran, and Turkey offered political, economic, and strategic support, not merely out of ideological alignment, but out of geopolitical interest. Venezuela ceased to be a local issue and became part of a global chessboard. Over time, accusations followed. Contested elections, crackdowns on protests, arrests of political opponents, allegations of human rights violations. The International Criminal Court opened investigations, and in 2020, the United States brought formal criminal charges, linking the Venezuelan government to international narcotics trafficking. For some, it was about fighting crime. For others, it was the criminalization of a political adversary. Sanctions multiplied. Isolation deepened, yet the regime remained. For years, analysts predicted an imminent collapse, and it never came, until it did. In January 2026, a rapid, precise, and silent military operation captured the Venezuelan president. No final speech, no negotiated transition, no formal declaration of war. Maduro was taken into U.S. custody. Power in Caracas hung in the balance. The vice president assumed interim control. The world reacted. Some governments applauded. Others condemned it. Many stayed silent, because the issue was no longer just Venezuela. The issue was the precedent. The United States said it acted in the name of justice. Critics argued that historic lines had been crossed. For the first time in decades, a head of state was captured by a foreign power outside a declared conflict. Why now? Why this way? Perhaps to enforce long-standing indictments, perhaps to decapitate a regime, perhaps to send a message to allies and adversaries alike, perhaps because in the New World, the political cost of inaction had become higher than the risk of action. But Venezuela was never just a political problem. The country sits on some of the largest oil reserves on the planet, resources that for decades sustained internal power and attracted external interest. Beneath the same territory lie strategic minerals and rare earths, essential for technology, defense, energy, and the industrial transition of the 21st century. For years, these assets remained beyond the direct reach of the American market, protected by international alliances and by a state willing to use them as tools of sovereignty and leverage. In a world where energy is influence and minerals are power, controlling access can be as decisive as controlling governments. That is why this story is not only about ideology, nor only about international justice. It is about who decides, who extracts, and who benefits as the global balance begins to shift. This is not just a documentary about Nicolás Maduro. It is about sovereignty. It is about limits. It is about what happens when force replaces consensus. Today, the name in the headlines is Maduro. The real question is this: what kind of world accepts that capturing a president becomes an option? And when that happens, who is truly safe?